If you're over 70 and you've been wearing the same haircut for the last decade, this video might be the most important 5 minutes you give yourself today. Because here's what most women don't realize. Your haircut is doing one of two things right now. It's either subtracting years from your face, or it's quietly adding them. And the difference between the two has almost nothing to do with how much hair you have, how gray it is, or whether you've been blessed with thick, luscious locks. It comes down to shape, structure, and knowing which cuts were designed with faces like yours in mind. Today we're walking through 5 haircuts that women over 70 are using right now to look refreshed, vibrant, and genuinely younger. Not because they're chasing youth, but because the right haircut simply lets your best features do the talking. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which cut belongs on you. 1. The soft layered bob. Let's start with the cut that stylists quietly recommend more than any other for women in their 70s, the soft layered bob. Now, you've probably heard of the bob 1,000 times. But there's a version of this cut that's completely different from the blunt, one-length style many women picture. This one works with your face rather than against it, and the secret is in the layers. As we age, our faces naturally lose volume in the cheeks and temples. Gravity does its quiet work, and the fullness that once gave our faces a lifted, youthful look begins to shift downward. A blunt bob can actually emphasize that change. It draws the eye straight down, which elongates the face and accentuates any heaviness near the jaw. The soft layered bob solves this beautifully. When layers are cut strategically, longer at the front, with gentle graduation toward the back, they create movement. And movement is everything. It catches the light differently throughout the day. It makes fine hair appear fuller, and most importantly, it redirects the eye to the upper part of the face, where your eyes, your cheekbones, and your most expressive features live. For women over 70, the ideal version of this cut sits somewhere between the chin and the collarbone. Long enough to be elegant, short enough to feel modern. The ends are softened rather than blunt cut, which avoids that heavy, dated line across the bottom that can make a style feel stiff and aging. Here's something worth knowing about maintenance, too. The soft layered bob is one of the most forgiving cuts you can choose at this stage. It air dries with natural shape, responds beautifully to a round brush and a few minutes of blow drying, and it grows out gracefully, meaning you're not locked into a 6-week salon schedule just to keep it looking intentional. Gray hair, white hair, silver hair. This cut was practically made for those tones. The layers create dimension that color alone can't achieve. So even if you've fully embraced your natural gray, this style will make it look rich and polished rather than flat. One important detail that women often overlook when they ask for this cut. Tell your stylist you want the layers to be soft and blended, not choppy or heavily textured. There's a version of layered cutting that looks edgy and disconnected. That's not what we're after here. What you want is seamless movement. Ask for long layers that blend into each other, with the weight line slightly below the jaw. That simple instruction will get you 90% of the way there. If you've been wearing a one-length style for years and felt like something was slightly off, like your haircut was wearing you instead of the other way around, the soft layered bob may be exactly what you've been missing. It's not a dramatic transformation. It's a quiet upgrade that makes everyone around you say, "You look wonderful. Did you do something different?" And you'll smile because you'll know exactly what you did. 2. The Pixie with soft edges. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. A pixie cut? At 70? Yes. Absolutely yes. And here's why. The pixie cut has an unfair reputation for being bold or edgy, something reserved for women who want to make a statement. But the version we're talking about today isn't about drama. It's about precision. And when it's done right, it's one of the most quietly sophisticated choices a woman over 70 can make. The key phrase here is soft edges. This is not the severe, close-cropped pixie of decades past. This modern version keeps a little length on top, enough to style with some lift, and the sides and back are blended gradually rather than cut hard and sharp. The result is a cut that frames the face without boxing it in. Why does this matter so much for women over 70? Because one of the biggest visual changes that happens with age is a softening of the jawline. The definition that once existed there becomes less distinct, and many women find that longer cuts actually draw attention to that change by framing it. The pixie with soft edges sidesteps this entirely. By keeping the length at the top and blending the sides smoothly, It creates a vertical line of visual interest, drawing the eye upward toward the crown and the face, while leaving the jaw area soft and unemphasized. There's also the matter of neck length. As women age, the neck can shorten in appearance due to posture changes and natural shifts in the body. A well-cut pixie actually elongates the neck beautifully, creating a long, graceful line from the shoulder to the crown of the head that feels almost effortlessly refined. And the texture piece cannot be overstated. Fine thinning hair, which is incredibly common after 70, behaves completely differently in a pixie than it does in a longer style. When fine hair is long, gravity pulls it flat and limp against the scalp. When it's cut short, the same fine hair suddenly has structure. It holds shape. It moves. A small amount of lightweight mousse or a texturizing spray at the roots gives it lift that no amount of product can create in a longer style. Silver and white hair in a pixie with soft edges is stunning. The cut creates contrast and dimension that makes the hair color look intentional and artistic rather than simply the result of aging. The women who hesitate at this cut often say the same thing afterward. I should have done this years ago. Not because they had to be brave, but because they finally feel like their outside matches the confidence they carry on the inside. 3. The feathered shag. If the layered bob is the elegant choice and the pixie is the refined choice, the feathered shag is the choice for the woman who wants her hair to feel alive. This cut has deep roots in the 70s and 80s, and its return in recent years is no accident. Stylists and women alike have rediscovered what made it so beloved in the first place. It's full of movement, it's endlessly flattering, and it looks just as beautiful on naturally gray hair as it does on any other color. The feathered shag is built on layers. Lots of them. But unlike the soft layered bob, which keeps its layers controlled and blended toward a defined shape, the feathered shag lets those layers breathe. The ends are typically cut with a slight flick or feathered finish, which means they turn outward or softly away from the face rather than curling under. This creates an open, airy frame around the face that is remarkably youthful in effect. For women over 70, the face framing layers in this cut are particularly valuable. When your stylist cuts those front sections so that they angle gently toward the cheekbones and taper toward the chin, it draws attention directly to the center of your face, your eyes, the bridge of your nose, the natural expressiveness that's uniquely yours. It's a framing technique that works like a portrait painter's choice of where to put the light. The shag also addresses a common frustration for older women, the flat crown. When hair thins at the top, even beautifully colored and styled hair can look deflated by midday. The layering technique used in a feathered shag removes weight from the top, which counterintuitively creates volume. When the heavy bulk is reduced, the remaining hair lifts rather than lies flat. A little root lifting spray, a diffuser, or even just scrunching while drying gives you a crown that looks full and intentional from morning through evening. One note on the length. This cut works beautifully at any length from a short shag sitting above the chin to a longer version reaching the collarbone. For women over 70, a medium shag around chin to shoulder length tends to offer the best balance. Enough length for elegance, enough layering for lift. Ask your stylist specifically for face framing layers and feathered ends. If you show them a reference photo, look for cuts where the ends appear light and slightly flicked, not curled under, not blunt, but open and flowing. That lightness is what makes this cut feel youthful without trying. 4. The classic French crop. This one doesn't get nearly enough attention in conversations about hair for women over 70, and that's a shame, because the French crop is one of the most quietly powerful cuts on this list. The French crop sits short at the back and sides with a slightly longer, textured section on top that falls forward in a soft fringe across the forehead. It's clean. It's modern. And it solves one of the most common concerns older women bring to the salon without them even realizing that's what they're asking for. That concern is the forehead. As we age, the hairline can recede slightly at the temples, and the forehead can become more prominent. Many women find that styles which are swept fully back or away from the face draw attention to this in a way that feels unflattering. The French crop addresses this directly. The textured fringe falls softly across the forehead. Not bluntly, not heavily, but with a natural, effortless drape, and in doing so, it reframes the entire face. Suddenly the forehead is no longer the first thing the eye lands on. Instead, your eyes draw attention. Your cheekbones come forward. The whole face reads as balanced and proportional. This cut also does something wonderful for women with fine or thinning hair, specifically at the crown and temples. Because the top section is left with length and texture while the sides are cut close, the contrast creates an illusion of genuine fullness on top. The hair you do have is concentrated right where it does the most visual work. Maintenance for the French crop is straightforward. The sides and back need a trim every 4 to 6 weeks to stay sharp, but the top section grows out with almost no awkward phase. It simply gets slightly longer and continues to drape naturally. A small amount of matte styling cream, or a lightweight wax worked through the top section with your fingers is all you need to give it shape each morning. This is also a remarkably versatile cut for lifestyle. Women who are active, who travel, who swim. This cut requires almost no effort to look put together. Wash it, run your fingers through the top, and walk out the door looking completely intentional. The French crop says something. It says that you know who you are, you're not chasing trends, and you've arrived at exactly the style that suits you. That quiet confidence reads on a face in a way that nothing else quite can. 5. The Textured Lixie. We're ending with a cut that may be new to many of you, the Lixie. And if you've never heard the word, here's all you need to know. It's the midpoint between a lob and a pixie, and it may be the most underrated cut for women over 70 on this entire list. The Lixie typically sits somewhere between the chin and the ear, which makes it shorter than a lob but longer and softer than a traditional pixie. What makes this cut distinct isn't just the length, it's the texture. The Lixie is always cut with deliberate texturizing, meaning the ends are point cut or razor finished to give them a soft, piecewise quality that moves independently. There are no hard, blunt edges. Everything about this cut is designed to feel effortless. Why does this work so beautifully for women over 70? Because it hits the sweet spot that so many women are looking for and struggling to find. Long enough to feel feminine and soft, short enough to feel modern and low maintenance. Textured enough to look full and lively, but refined enough to be genuinely elegant. It doesn't commit fully to short, which some women aren't ready for, but it's absolutely not a long hairstyle that demands daily attention and effort. For women with naturally wavy or slightly curly hair, the Textured Lixie is almost magical. The texture in the cut works with your natural wave pattern rather than against it, and what might have looked frizzy or unmanageable in a longer style suddenly looks intentional and beautiful. The shorter length means your waves have less weight pulling them out, so they spring up and create natural fullness throughout the cut. For women with straight, fine hair, this cut creates the illusion of thickness that longer styles simply cannot. The point cut ends catch the light and create visual separation between strands, which reads as density and fullness even when the hair itself is fine. And here's the detail that often seals it for women who are considering this cut. The Lixie is one of the most flattering lengths for the jaw and chin area specifically, because it sits right at or just above the jaw. It creates a natural focal point at the face without pulling the eye downward. It defines the jaw without hardening it. It frames the face without boxing it in. Ask your stylist for a textured Lixie with point-cut ends and soft, piecewise layers throughout. Tell them you want movement and softness, not a blunt line, not a hard shape. That simple description will lead you exactly where you want to be. 5 cuts. 5 completely different approaches to the same goal, looking like yourself, just refreshed, lifted, and more alive than the cut you've been wearing for too long. Whether you're drawn to the elegance of the soft layered bob, the confidence of the pixie, the energy of the feathered shag, the modern precision of the French crop, or the effortless softness of the textured Lixie, there is something on this list that was made for your face, your hair, and your life. Take a screenshot. Save this video. Show it to your stylist at your next appointment. And if this helped you today, please hit that like button. It tells us you want more of this kind of content. Subscribe if you're not already with us, because every week we're here with honest, practical advice for women who refuse to disappear with age. We'll see you in the next one.